Good morning, good afternoon, good evening if that's when you're watching this. Welcome back to Nick's Vids. Today is quite an unusual day for me and a first. It's definitely something a first and a last, hopefully. I am on my way to my, well, what I like to call my wheelie awareness course. A few months ago I was heading down a road very similar to this, and a part of me went, I fancy doing a little wheelie. So what I did, I backed off from the car in front, gave myself a little bit of room, did my blind spot check just to make sure there was no police officers about, and popped a little wheelie. And then when this wheelie came down, it was only up, down. That was the length of time it was. It wasn't anything extravagant, it wasn't stand up, wasn't, you know what I'm saying, it wasn't a crazy wheelie, it was just a little one. But yeah, so I did this little wheelie, then I came down, I did a little dance because I don't know, I must have been listening to some really good tunes, and then that was it. I drove off, carried on going snowboarding where I was heading, and nothing came of it. Right? No, unfortunately not. About a month after the actual, about 2 weeks. About 2 weeks after it happened, I got a little letter from the police. I was shitting myself. Getting a letter from the police is never fun, and depending on what you've done or any situation, even if it's just an inquiry about something, it's still not fun. It puts you on edge, you're worrying about it. This letter said dangerous driving. I've got quite a lot of experience with that, considering one of my mates lost his license due to dangerous driving, and that in turn meant that I was shitting it. I was thinking, oh no, that's it, I'm going to lose my license, that means I'll lose my job, and that means I'll lose my beautiful bike, and no more fun, no more going out, no more freedom. But luckily, I phoned up the police station, I explained my situation, I apologised profusely, and they were nice enough to drop it to, what was it called? It's dangerous driving, it's driving without due care and attention, I think that's what it was. So that allowed me to then claim the course of which I'm heading to now. I think it's actually called driving awareness course. So how to drive, or ride awareness course. That's it, ride, not driving, ride awareness course. So it tells you how to ride correctly. So I like calling it the wheelie awareness course, just so tell me how to do wheelies better. No, unfortunately that's not what it's going to be. But to be honest, it was all due. I was taking the piss a little bit with where I was doing my wheelies and how I was pushing the speed limit. So in all honesty, it wasn't a bad thing to happen. It probably was better it happened in a situation that I could talk myself out of it, more than a situation where it's just a horrible cop who doesn't care and just wants to take my license away and that's it. So I was lucky to get this course, I think. Unfortunately, this course cost 150, I think around 150. I'll double check that. If I'll put a figure up if I can be bothered. If not, then forget I even said that. And yeah, so I'm on my way to Guildford now to go to do this course, and I'm currently running a little late. Yeah, so that's where I'm heading today. I may try and get a couple of clips because I don't think there's any reason why I can't. So I'll just place my helmet down and just record a little bit, just put a little snippet in and stuff of what's actually happening. But again, I don't know what the situation will be. I'll talk about it afterwards with what happened and stuff. But I don't know if I mentioned, but the actual video itself was from a dash cam. So someone was obviously driving along behind me, the nice lady behind me, or the nice man, or whoever it was, saw me do the wheelie and thought, I don't like that, and pressed their dash cam button. So it records ahead, I think 15 seconds and back 15 seconds, which is brilliant if you're in an accident. Don't get me wrong, I think they're brilliant in that respect. But unfortunately, I'm rather hoping that the instructor taking this course is very, how could I say it, chill. Do you know what I mean? Doesn't take it too seriously. Understands it's his job at the end of the day, so he's going to do it properly. But just someone we can talk to and get on with, and not. I just don't want to be sat in a room with someone telling me off all day. Do you know what I mean? I admit I was in the wrong. Don't get me wrong, I know that. But I just can't be bothered to hear it. That's all.
6 hours later.
Okay, so I'm just leaving the the drive awareness course, the ride course, which I found the proper name out for. It was pretty good actually. Unfortunately I didn't manage to get any footage of it, so I won't be able to show you any of that, because literally the first thing he said when he walked in was, do not record this, do not use your mobile phones while it's in the lesson to record it for people's privacy reasons. And I didn't really want to breach that on a police course. So yeah, it was informative. I think that's the best way to describe it. I learned a couple of things that I honestly didn't know about, like linings and hash lines and things like that, and it should make me know what I can and can't do a little bit better. Whether or not it'll change whether or not I'll break the speed limit, or I will stop wheeling. Wheeling I've definitely been curbing anyway from not going in inappropriate places, but the actual speeding side of it, the guy in the course was saying it as well. He was saying that I don't expect you to stop speeding. People do, everyone speeds. It's one of those things, just to know when it's appropriate not to, and to blatantly, it's nice to use this opportunity to teach us how to become better riders and drivers. So obviously with this course I don't think I'd ever actually choose to do it, but he did a lot of talking about what's in the highway code, stuff you don't actually read or ever think to look up, and it made me think a couple of times I've actually been pulled over by the police. I've been wrongfully pulled over, such as filtering and undertaking on the outside, because this guy was an ex-traffic cop, so he kind of, at the end of the day, he knows the rules better than anyone. If this was a national, this would be a 70. I knew that already. But if this centre section of grass wasn't there and there was just another road, these two lanes, national lanes, would still be a fucking 60. So did talk a lot about road safety. Like obviously I'm being quite bad wearing trainers and jeans and riding in those instead of anything else, which is silly really, but trust me, I already knew that before I rode. There's another thing about sharp motorcycle helmets standards. It's quite good. We got a little leaflet. Found out mine's a 4 out of 5 stars, which I'm pretty happy with for the price it costs. And at the end of the day, it's only going to save your head apparently up to 25 miles an hour. Anything above that, it's just a little bit better than nothing. What I'm doing now is actually wrong as well. Not illegal, but wrong. I'm following too close. Well, actually no, I'm alright I think now, but yeah, well actually he said 30-40, so 60 miles an hour. I'm meant to be 15 car lengths back, which is like not even that. That's like that, which is mental if you think about it. No, I'm going, don't worry. Yeah, but to be honest, I can't say I would never have chosen to do it. There's a couple of questions I've always wanted to ask police officers, and I was able to ask him as an ex-cop. He's only been retired, but I think a few years, he said. So it was. I'm quite happy I did it instead of the points anyone would be. For £135, which is what we found out the price was. That's pretty good. Like, to stop you from getting 3 points and a fine, which would be £100 anyway. So you're only paying £35 to avoid points. Yeah. So I'm genuinely quite happy about it. Well, one thing he did say actually was not to cover my front brake, which I was starting to do watching a lot of GP riders. Because especially if you're filtering, if your handlebars are slightly crooked when you go to do it, you'll end up just fucking slipping out or flipping over the handlebars, which generally makes sense. So I'm not going to try and practice that. Obviously with my clutch and eventually handbrake it would be slightly different, but one thing I did find quite, what would you say, funny or confusing was they didn't once mention, they asked us what the reason we were here. It's like you would in prison to your inmates, but so what are you in for? But so we all said, like, a couple of people was crossing white lines, that was the most common. Two others were speeding 10 miles an hour over. No, actually one guy was a 60 and a 30, 61 and a 30, so he should have lost his license. Similar to me obviously. But what was very weird was they never mentioned wheelies, and there were 2 of us in there for it. Another guy wheelied past an unmarked police car, and myself obviously for getting caught on a dash cam. And it was just weird. He obviously said, the moment we said it, well, he just laughed it off almost, saying, but there was no ever don't do it. I think it's just, you can't teach that, it's just common sense not to. I think that might be the reason behind it, but I thought they would say like the risks behind it more than anything, but they didn't even mention it. Oh, I've just broken it again. I can't be past that centre white line or it's running a red light, so That's what I think he kept saying, because apparently a lot of people are in for that. My logic is to get out in front of traffic where I'm safer, but I'd rather keep my licence to be safe. One thing I would say that came through to me quite a lot about to do with speeding was, if I'm doing 30 miles an hour and I brake and come to a stop just in front of the van, so like just not hitting it, so I tap it, let's say I just tap the front of the van gently. If I was doing 32, I'd hit that van at 11 miles an hour, not 2. It's all to do with the physics of when you brake, nothing's happening, nothing happened, then all of it happens suddenly. So that's crazy. And it was the same if you were doing 70 and you just stopped. Doing 80, you'd hit the van at 30 or 26 miles an hour, and then 100 or something like, you'd hit the van at 71 miles an hour if it was the same distance, which is a madness. That kind of, you would never think that. You would think it wouldn't be, it's only 30 miles an hour, it wouldn't be that much difference, but it's crazy how much of a difference it does make. I'm not gonna preach to you that I'm now gonna go slow everywhere, because it's very unlikely to happen. And I'm definitely gonna keep it in the back of my mind and keep the stopping distances just that little bit further, because honestly, that a 71 mile an hour, hitting something at 71 miles an hour would, that's it. There's nothing left. There's no more life left in you there. It's just one of those things to think about, I assume. And one of the other things to do with crashes and speeding and things like that is, if you're in an area that has, it's like the more paint, the more something, I don't know, the more crashes, the more daint. I don't know what the saying was, but if you come up to a corner and there's a corner sign and a slow sign and a slow sign on the road and a speed sign, that's been a lot of crashes, because obviously putting one sign up hasn't worked because people aren't following it. Do you see what I mean? I'll see about it as an example, but the more signs, the more crashes there's been in that spot. It's trying to reiterate to us what's happened and to save as much money as possible. They're not going to put them everywhere, which is one of those things that you don't think of, you don't think about it till someone tells you. Okay, I think I've gone over most of the little pointers, things that stood out to me whilst doing the course. It was obviously to avoid getting 3 points at the end of the day, so I'm not going to come out saying it was amazing, I'm so glad I paid for it, because I'm not. I would have very much rather kept the 100 and something quid and spent it on motorcycle boots to protect myself instead of a course, but it's one of those things. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope this was a little insight to something hopefully none of you ever have to do, or I hopefully never have to do again. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you around. Thank you, bye.